Hey, 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 y'all! The Viking Tim Marks coming at you from my garage again. Why in the garage again? Because so many successful businesses start in a garage. So we're continuing on with the garage series here. I want to talk to you today about becoming an entrepreneur and some of the attributes that it takes. Now, most of the videos I do have something to do with business or the mental thinking that goes behind being an entrepreneur, maybe how to toughen up, etc., how to be motivated. You know, I've studied for 17 years now many different entrepreneurs, business owners, people that have built different organizations, and I love studying that stuff. And I've been trying to boil it down to, man, is there really so many steps you can do to make sure you're going to become successful? There's really not. And I think, you know, there's several ways you can look at it. There's some people that'll teach, 5 steps to success, 28 steps to success, whatever. Here's the facts. From what I can tell, we cannot prove that if you went to Harvard Business School and your name was such and such, you're 10 times more likely to become a multimillionaire. Or if you were given so much capital to work with, you're going to be much more successful. Your odds go up. There's somebody that breaks one of these rules or many of these rules every time we think we come up with them. So I broke it down to some attributes that I think most entrepreneurs have, whether or not you need all of these or a couple of these, whatever. And here's a list of people who either are entrepreneurs still with us or have what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And I want to go through these real quick. So Jeff Bezos and Mark Cuban, both billionaires, but they couldn't be any more different, right? I mean, those guys are two different dudes. Henry Ford, Bill Gates. Look at Bill Gates and Richard Branson, both billionaires, but look at Bill Gates, Richard Branson. Those guys are like polar opposite. Bill Gates, very quiet, reserved, college dropout guy. Richard Branson is flies in outer space, jumps out of airplanes, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And then Jennifer Duncan is from Waco, Texas. I don't know if you've heard of her or not. So some of the attributes that these people possess, I would say particularly Mark Cuban, he's the one that kind of drove me. I was studying him, and it kind of drove me to think about some of the stuff. And he's data driven, but yet he's a visionary. And you could say that's true with any of those business owners there or people that have what it takes. So data driven, so I want some data. I need to see it, but I'm not going to let that cripple me. I'm also going to have a vision. I've known some people that you can show them data. They don't want to see the data. And they have a vision for what they want to do, but there's just no data to back it up. And so it's a fine line, but you need really both of those things. Then this one here, this came from Andy Grove. If you remember Andy Grove, he was one of the founding owners of Intel. Intel, the Intel chip inside. So that company way long ago, I mean, this guy was back in the 80s, they were making computers. I remember seeing an interview of him. He was a lot younger, he was in the mid 80s, and he was at that time, he was saying, we've been in business at that point for 19 years doing this stuff. So some kind of computer stuff. I'm thinking, man, what the heck? It must have been these big ones that filled up the rooms or whatever. But he wrote a book called Only the Paranoid Survive. So be paranoid, but also be a professional. So not paranoid, like, oh no, they're coming to get me. Oh no, you don't want it to cripple you. But what he's talking about is be aware. He was always worried that somebody else was going to cut in on his marketplace. And that's what he was saying at that point in the interview in the 80s was, for 19 years he'd been in business. Every night he worried about somebody coming in and taking the deal from him or whatever. And then obviously Apple came along at some point later on. So that's the second one. And then the third one, this one I think you really have to have. However, it's inside of all of us. Whatever you want to call it, this hitching your giddy up, this aggression, posture, ruthlessness, cockiness, whatever you want to call it, everybody has it. And so I want to share a little story with you here. Audacity, many people would say, well, I'm not an audacious person, or I don't have aggression, or I don't, and I'm not talking these things in a bad way where you'd hurt somebody. I would say just the opposite, where you would protect and help somebody. So this last person on the list here, Jennifer Duncan, I want to tell you a story about her. Jennifer Duncan's from Waco, Texas. Just about a year ago, May 26, 2016, she was on her way to work, driving in her, I think she had a minivan, taking her little boy. She's going to drop him off to daycare, little Daniel, 8 months old, her little boy. She's going to drop him off at daycare before she goes to work. Did this every day. Well, come to find out, she gets in a little fender bender, and Daniel's buckled in the car seat. Great, everybody's okay. She pulls over and gets little Daniel on the car seat. She's holding him and calming him down and everything, right? and she's standing outside of her car. And they just happened to be on the top of this bridge, 30-foot high bridge. Well, somebody had parked a car behind her car to kind of shield it. Somebody else didn't see that. Here comes a big truck, bam, smashes into that, throws her off of the bridge. 30-foot high. A basketball hoop's 10 foot, so times 3. 30-foot high, she falls off of this bridge. She instinctively creates a human cocoon, as it were, goes around little 8-month-old little Daniel and protects him. And I tell you what, when they landed 30-foot, lucky, I mean, I was shocked that either one of them lived. But she protected him, and she landed just barely, literally a little scratch on little Daniel. She totally fractured and obliterated her pelvis. It was broken into several pieces. She had massive internal injuries. She actually ended up having to have her leg amputated. It was damaged so bad they couldn't repair it. And you know what? Little Daniel had just a little scratch. And you might think, well, I would never do that. I'm not that kind of person. Yes. If you want to know if somebody has something inside them, whatever that is, call it the human spirit, call it aggression, call it protection, whatever you want to call it, that's what an entrepreneur needs. They need some of that. And everybody has that. You've heard stories of, the little 90-pound mom that lifted up the back end of a car to get a baby out, or whatever. I mean, I don't know how many of those stories are true. I've seen some that I think were true, but I know this. You mess with my wife's kids, she can be tough, right? If you mess with my kids, I can get tough. So I think anybody who's a parent, find something that's important to you, and you can get this last piece that everybody needs. That's that I will never give up, never say die. I'll protect, I'll fight, I'll scrap, I'll scrape. Every one of these entrepreneurs has that. And I could go through each one of their stories. Maybe I will go through and tell some more stories about these folks, but everybody has that. Don't think you don't have it. If you want to learn more about what that is, how to bring it out, watch my video on motivation. It's on this same channel. I've enjoyed sharing with you. If you liked it, subscribe, share it with other people, and put in a comment below. God bless. Have a good night. We'll see ya.